So I came across this clip um, not too long ago, and I guess uh, I'll read what it says in the clip first. What would you want communication like this? So I guess we'll listen to it first before I get into my thoughts and questions on it.
Right back on that. So,
Yeah.
big project deadline.
Okay.
Didn't realize it was coming this week. So I'm going to be more distracted. Probably have to work late. So if I can just focus, it'll be short-lived. So this weekend, then I can plan something for us to connect and have fun together.
Hey, I was just getting the bags for the trip, and it made me realize we should probably get on the same page about how much time with your family, time relaxing, time just us. So do you want to have that conversation now? Just so you know, I started my cycle today, so if I seem short, snappy, tired, just have a little grace for me, okay?
Hey, I know this week has been a little more tense. So why don't we just have a family meeting and we'll get on the same page for the next week.
Okay, so I don't know why Instagram thought it was relevant to show me this, but it popped in my little "Are you interested in this?" feed, and it doesn't super surprise me because I not feel as if, but hey, this is like some of the content that people put out these days. These like couple dynamic, like how you should like productive communication styles and like dealing with your significant other in like like peaceful resolution opposed to the beefing that you see like when you see meme pages and sitcoms and things of that nature. And the caption that the guy posted on the original post, it seemed people on the comments thought this style of communication felt cold and inorganic. Others find it extremely helpful. Where do you stand? So that's basically the question. Like you obviously see in this little clip of this couple, and they're showing different scenarios of which and just regular everyday life, and they're intentionally communicating what the potential issue that's going on in their life and how they want to just kind of quote unquote squash it now by having a conversation and just being clear about the situation. So yeah, it definitely what's the expression, leaves out from, removes the space for any like what's the word, I'm kind of stumbling right now. It removes a chance of any like miscommunication or like any like lack of awareness for what the other person's got going on. But there was a comment specifically that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you scroll down, logged in for some reason, if the comment will pop up. But if not, I also posted it in the the Discord. If you could pull that up real quick. Or no, I'll just read it. I don't need to. If you want, you can pull it up. But so somebody commented under this post, and again, if you're logged on Instagram, you can probably see it. I think it's one of the first comments. Somebody said, "Am I the only one that loves, or am I the only one that loves this? But at the same time, I'm realizing that this many rules to tiptoe around behaviors and reactions is just damn exhausting." And that is definitely something that's has a bit of merit to it. Like, I mean, yeah. There it is for anyone that wants to read it along. Yeah, I mean, while it looks good on paper and I don't want to start loading my opinion, but it sounds good on paper to like, hey, every time you just kind of communicate, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um, Imagine a world in which you did this for every aspect, like and again, I don't want to start getting because depending on your answers, I might defend one side or the other. But yeah, the point they're basically raising that this could potentially be exhausting, having to fully every time something's arise, you have to talk about it. You have to how they describe tiptoe around certain things and how there's rules in place in a relationship. A lot of people want more of it to feel of a more ease a lifestyle. But I guess in general, before I start babbling on, I want to know what y'all think about this. And I think the main thing that the caption asks is kind of the best way to ask it. But I guess there's also, do you would you are you do you find this, do you think this could be exhausting as well? But yeah, I guess the main thing is, would you prefer that communication style? And again, not just, or not again, but not just between like your significant other, but just people in general. Where do you think this is a bit much in general? What do you think it is?
Um, Jeez. So yeah, I don't know. Disclaimer: like I haven't been in a relationship, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I think this looks like uh, a good ideal to strive for, not necessarily something um to just like I don't know, like set as a hard and fast rule from jump. Like you have to if you're in a relationship, you have to communicate every little single thing that you feel is gonna, could potentially cause some type of issues, whether it's with for the relationship itself or if it's just for, day to day life or anything like that. Um, I don't think it's something that you try to implement as a rigid thing. It's more like an ideal to strive for. Um, and I will also say that it shouldn't, like, if a couple were to try to implement something like this, as a system like this, quote unquote system, um, it shouldn't be where like they expect it to resolve all of their problems
Mm-hmm.
or like completely eliminate the possibility of um like a miscommunication or a misunderstanding or um even just negative feelings about something. Like the first example was the guy who's going to be working late or whatever, or yeah, working late on a project, and he'll try to make some time on the weekend or whatever
He's
once his
pulling an
client comes.
ace.
Yeah. Um, so while he has communicated that to the wife, and the hope is that she understands it, that is not necessarily going to be true. Like she still may have negative feelings about the whole thing. It doesn't guarantee that the wife is okay now. She knows, so she's got to be perfectly fine with it. No, that she's still a human. She still has emotions that she's going to be dealing with it about it, regardless if it's something that she feels negatively towards. um Planning the trip, there could still be some some things that come up more spontaneously that you didn't plan for, and you kind of just got to roll with the punches, or not punches, but like adapt to the situation.
Yeah.
um a family meeting, like now you're dealing with kids. The kids are not going to be doing everything you say, or maybe they're not
Well,
going to be able
depending on how you
to.
raising them kids, but sorry.
I mean, yeah, but your kids aren't going to be perfect, and not only in their actions but also in their communication. Like they're not going to be aces at this, even if you think you are. So there has to be the understanding that it's, again, even if it is an ideal we're working towards, we still understand that we are human and we are going to it is not going to solve all our problems. It's just something that we're implementing to try to help us towards better communication as a whole. Because I will say, like, I think communication is probably the most important thing in terms of establishing a lasting relationship or marriage
Sustainability,
or
yeah.
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 But yeah, I think that's all my thoughts on it.
Well, that was obviously well said. I think there's a couple of things that kind of sparked in my mind about what you were saying, but I guess before I get into it, Ghost, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think this is 100% the way to go when it comes to communication, or do you think you could see a world in which it is a bit like tiring to talk every last thing out?
Um, the communication aspect, I mean, it is helpful and it's not inherently a bad thing, but I I don't know if I would exactly use the phrase exhausting, but if I had to converse with my partner like that almost every day. That's so like clinical and like it feels like how I would talk to or how I talk to coworkers when I'm dealing with projects. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about my emotions. I'm just talking about specific projects, but outlining things A to B and planning from there. That's how I approach work. I do not want to approach my relationship in that fashion because it removes any spontaneity. It just kind of boils things down to, oh, I communicated X, Y, and Z. So
Wait,
you should be expected to do this in response to that. But like Ace said, it doesn't leave any room for okay, let's say something comes up that you don't expect and you won't be able to plan the trip, like Ace said, or what if you're working on that project late and your wife is also PMSing at the same time? So
Jesus.
y'all gotta communicate it back and forth, and you gotta. Oh, I'm gonna be a little extra testy because I have this project, and she's like, oh, I'm being a little more of a bad mood because I'm PMSing, and then that'll trigger. Dealing with your irritability is gonna trigger my thing. Like that's just not how people kind of work. I don't want to say it like that because it, I'm sure for some people that operate in that mind frame, a relationship like this would be ideal and something to strive for. But I don't know. I just feel like in general, documenting and planning every single facet of your relationships and your interactions just become very tiring. And like I don't I kind of want some of the things that like they're explicitly stating. I kind of feel like should just be implied or
Oh, you know what happens when you get to it implying and assuming.
I get that, but like if I could see myself just saying like, "Oh, I'm probably gonna be working late for this week," and just leave it at that. And I get your point because in my mind that would kind of be like, okay, if I'm gonna be doing this, then my wife would kind of pick up on the fact that yeah, I'm gonna be a little less patient in some other aspects until this is resolved. But I'm not gonna, me personally, like I don't. And again, I've never been married, but I don't anticipate myself saying like explicitly saying like, yeah, I'm gonna be a little more snappy towards you and the kids. So bother me for an hour less a day. Like that's just a crazy way to frame it.
So how do you articulate when you're in a bad mood, or when you might be in a bad mood?
I don't want to articulate it. If I'm in a bad mood, I don't want to be around other people. I
So
don't want to.
if you're in a
I
bad
don't.
mood, how does
I'm gonna keep
somebody?
to myself until I'm out of that bad mood, so it doesn't.
Jesus Christ.
But I'm doing it so it doesn't like I
The
don't
wife is gonna
take
be
anything.
witness.
I'm doing it so I don't take it out on anyone. But like when I'm in a bad mood and I'm angry, like this is more of a personal thing, but I don't want to like actively call attention to it. Like, oh, you're in a bad mood. You need to do this, this, and that to address it specifically. I just kind of like let it blow over, which probably isn't the healthiest thing. But like, I'm not the type of person that would
Are you at
go.
least
This
gonna
to me,
are you at least gonna
the
articulate that
equivalent.
I need a second, or I need a
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. But to me, the equivalent is you get mad and you go out to one of those anger management, I can't forget what they call them, like the anger management rooms where you break shit and you do that. Like it feels like me being mad, going out, driving a half hour, getting suited up to break some stuff, and then that's supposed to resolve my anger. And after that, then it's supposed to be gone. Like it just feels like a very clinical and choreographed way to approach things that I personally don't find authentic. and I don't know. It's weird just why I don't like this sentiment in general of like documenting every single aspect of your relationship, even though on paper there's nothing wrong with it. But like, I'm not arguing against communication as a whole. I think it's very important, and some of the
Like I
things
said,
like
probably the most important.
yeah, it is. But like some of the things that were mentioned in the videos, like conversations I could definitely see specifically having with my future wife. But some of the other things, it's like, where does it end? Like, does it? Oh, you're making this for dinner tonight, so and I don't really like that. I'm gonna eat it, but I might be a little more hesitant, and I might be in a little bad mood afterwards because I'm not as full as like.
uh,
I don't know. That's the way I think about it, but I don't know. So it's a weird one.
no, I genuinely enjoy how you reacted to it. Although obviously there's a couple things that come to my mind. Um, this is gonna go through the whole thing, so I guess all your responses, but it'd be remiss. It wouldn't be like me if I didn't ask. Uh, and maybe it's just an example, but why not just never, don't get mad? Like what? As a guy,
Okay.
like as a guy, just control that shit. But anyway, from the real stuff, you also
Uh,
mentioned like you also mentioned like it removes some spontaneity from all of this. So you want a spontaneous relationship or relationships?
um, some aspects of it, sure.
Like the
I mean,
trip, like the trip, planning the trip. That was too much.
uh, no, not even that, because I don't think there's anything wrong
I
with.
feel I feel as if trips should be the most. Hey, boom, boom, boom. We like
Yeah,
trips should
like
be
that.
a lot of
I
margin for
like.
error.
Yeah, I like planning things out. Like when I say spontaneous, it's not really related to events. It's more so just you're anticipating how your feelings and how your reaction is going to play out, and operating based off of what you think is going to happen in that case. Like planning that aspect, like planning your mindset, I guess, is more so where I'm coming from.
I actually do understand exactly what you're not well, for the most part what you're saying because I think and I was gonna say it seems like you tend to agree with the caption kind of like it's kind of inorganic and clinical or I guess whatever you want to like to be going around and saying hey because of this thing I may feel this way I may feel a bit more moody I may feel a bit more snappy like that's kind of that that's not really realistic obviously if the situation warrants it I guess you could say hey like I guess one of the most realistic examples if somebody passed in your family, hey, like I'm going through this, so whatever the case may be, and maybe even according to you, maybe a person should just get it, and you're gonna take some time for yourself. But yeah, I can understand that aspect of it. I think it definitely is more applicable just to give somebody an idea of what the situation could be. Again, I think we're all on board with the first part about like, hey, I'm gonna be at work. I'm getting busy at work, so I'm not gonna necessarily have time for you. Maybe I guess that would be something that's reasonable. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely you're not totally just tweaking. Um, damn, there's one other thing I was gonna say. Um, whatever, I guess maybe. Yeah, I think for the most part, it is some the room for it to be have a communication style like this is something I guess is ideal and what a lot of people would want. One other thing I was gonna ask: Do you would you be okay on the opposite end, Ghost, if your partner kind of had the same mentality as you, where like some things don't need to be spoken, I'm just gonna like deal with it. Like
Yeah,
if
and
you had a
like when I
uh,
say that, like I get it could very easily spiral into why aren't you understanding exactly what I'm thinking, which is not my intent. It's more so just like I have a basic threshold or level of knowledge of my partner and empathy towards how they feel, and I kind of expect that to be reciprocated in some aspect. And it's not necessarily going to play out the same way that I would do it, but just the fact that it's there, like it's something that it's not going to be like if I tell her that I'm going to be working late for the next week, like she just flies off the handle or doesn't understand it all and just says, "Oh, just cancel that shit," or "You ain't gotta work." Like that's kind of an extreme uh, case, but something like I would just expect a base level of understanding, and I know that that's not going to be like an instantaneous thing, and that oh my partner's immediately going to get me, or I'm immediately going to get my partner, but it's something to work towards, and that's why I'm not like completely throwing their way of communicating out the window.
Yeah.
But I think that it can get to there's a point that it can reach to where it just becomes a little too much. And one other thing I want to just throw out there is that this it's kind of bad to feel this way, but this type of communication and dealing with your partner kind of feels privileged because a lot of people like I feel like you have to if we're gonna balance out like the good and the bad in a relationship and your life in general, you got to be living a pretty comfortable life to be able to deal like this because you don't have a lot of adversity and difficulties to go through to have to deal with this on a constant basis. Like if there's always going to be some level of stress related to your situation, there's always going to be something happening, which for a lot of people that's kind of the case. You don't really have the luxury of delegating your time and your feelings and all of that, to be honest. Like I don't know.
I do see
In
what you're
a,
saying. To
yeah,
a
in
certain
an
extent.
ideal world, like we'll be comfortable, we'll have a steady career, steady job and all that. But if I'm living check to check and we're in a very bad situation that it's gonna take years to claw ourselves out of, like a lot of people have gone through. I don't think that just telling them, "Oh, I'm gonna be PMSing, so I'm gonna be in a bad mood. Just leave me alone for a little bit today," or "Oh, I'm gonna be more irritable because I got this on my mind." It's like, yeah, but we got X, Y, and Z to deal with, so I get that you're not gonna be in a good mood, but you're gonna have to suck it up anyways. Like that's what a lot
Jesus.
of people have to deal with. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to be brusque or like insensitive, but it's just a lot of people have to deal with tons of shit on a day to day, and it's not fun or pleasant. You just gotta kind of suck it up. And
Jeez.
if every single aspect of unpleasantness in your life was communicated and documented back and forth, it would just be it would be insane. Like I can't imagine it. Like
Never are you so.
imagine you're living in the ghetto and you're like again you're worried about your lights being shut off and your partner's coming to you with something. I would be like, man, I don't want to hear that. I'm trying to make sure that we got a place to stay. To like, and again, hopefully, the goal is that none of us are in the situation. But a lot of people, I'm just saying, do not have the luxury of healthy communication in this aspect.
You're muted, Ace, but geez, never are you saying that healthy communication is not for the have-nots
It's
and the
uh,
people that are struggling.
communicating like this in such a sterile way is kind of a privilege. I'm gonna be
That's
honest.
that's
Even though it sounds rough, he's not lying.
Bro, I'm kind of
Once
being real here.
when you're in
Like,
a comfortable position in life, you can. That's when you can. No, it's because it's like the same mentality of like the people that are a bit more well off are typically people that pursue like counseling or therapy like that, or healthy practice. The folks in the ghetto, we got light bills. We got not we, but they got shit going on. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
It sucks, but he ain't wrong.
I'm thinking of some
So
of the
okay, so
scenarios.
knowing that communication is the most important thing in relationships, and if we agree that like striving towards this or something like this with the caveat that you're going to understand that your partners aren't perfect, they're still going to make mistakes, you're still going to make mistakes, you're basically, and I mean, maybe this isn't wrong, but you're you're basically saying the relationships for less well-off people are more likely to fail.
I,
They'll definitely be a bit more tumultuous. We know we can't like,
yeah, I
play games
mean
around that.
that's true in like an objective sense. I'm not even trying to frame it like successful versus unsuccessful relationships and what the causes and effects of that are. I'm just kind of trying to approach it from like a realistic viewpoint of what is actually going to happen in a relationship if they're not living like, I mean, they look, I can just looking at their kitchen, you can tell they are very well off.
Yeah, they look like they got an island,
Like
good
this
Yeah,
kitchen
is
no,
the size
space.
of my apartment.
I get it. I do get the point. Um, but I guess I will say that like when I look at something like this, I don't look at it as necessarily copy it exactly as shown in the video. Like there, the I I automatically kind of like transfer it into the more realistic aspects. Like take away from like whatever your situation is, take away from the ideal as much as you can. So like
Hmm.
somebody who's struggling, you know, again, pay the light bills, pay the bills regardless, whatever those bills are. Um, low income, you still have things to plan for, to do on a day to day. You got kids, that's a lot of a lot of planning, a lot of just stuff to be on top of on a day to day basis. So there's still a lot of practical application of this that you could take away and implement into your relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be to the depth of like every time I am going to be feeling a negative emotion, I relate it to my partner. But um, for depending on your situation, depending on the um, the impact of whatever is affecting you, like bigger bigger things that are affecting you in a very negative way should still be um communicated, or I think like that's the ideal you should strive towards,
Hmm.
because again, like you, it's the most important thing. So,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you framed it better than I have. I think my hesitation with this whole thing is that it feels fake and it feels kind of like a setup. It's something that it feels like a marriage counselor would tell a couple they need to implement, and they do it for a week, and then it just goes by the
yeah,
wayside.
right.
But if you strip away the and the fact that it's recorded too, it's anytime I see any type of family interactions recorded, I just get very put off by it. But taking all that away, taking away the skepticism,
Some
I
people
do
in
agree with your
unhealthy
take
relationships
and
need
how
it,
you.
need stuff like this. They on TikTok and Instagram all day, so hopefully they bump into this.
Yeah, this is preferable to some of the alternatives we see in our community a lot, sadly. I
But
will say
yeah,
that.
but yeah. Ultimately speaking, when it comes to the conversation and communication, it's obviously one of those things we go on for hours. You know, healthy communication styles, unhealthy communication styles, what communication looks like after a certain time, knowing people's personal communication styles, all that jazz. And yeah, definitely from like listening to the conversation and just thinking about this clip more and more, I think it's like I mean, like a lot of things. Like I always say, the QuestLando motto. Things are like waves, in the sense that I think that when you're starting to meet a person, not even like in a romantic relationship, just in a personal relationship basis, like you're all gonna start off kind of like being relatively pleasant, and then depending on how the relationship progresses, you might have to uh, at some points be more mindful of communication, or maybe it just comes more naturally. And also, it got me thinking, like, even though I think, like we said, this type of style, not the way they're specifically framing it, but this type of style would be healthy. You look at people that have been married for like, or together for like 40, 50 years, like grandpas and grandmas, they don't communicate like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they are on like a couple words basis, or they don't even need to talk to each other to know like what exactly their intentions are and their thought process are. So this is definitely beneficial for some aspects of a relationship, but as the relationship more progresses, then you just get to a situation which this is not even needed. And I think that's probably the ultimate space you want to be in, but you don't get that there overnight. You do gotta take a little of this. But I digress. Yeah, definitely a really great insight on y'all end. If there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic though.